What's going on, people? Welcome back to the United Stand. It's the 10 a.m. show, Monday morning. I hope everyone is doing great. Look, I am actually doing very well today because United actually beat Aston Villa yesterday 2-1, a great game. I wasn't on the fan forum, so today I'm going to touch on a little bit of my comments on the game. And I really want to know you guys' opinion on the game last night and a few Ten Hag's comments. So, today we're going to go through. It's not going to be too much, but we're going to go through some topics. We're going to go through Onana's performance, Luke Shaw's injury concern. I know he came off at half-time. Unless Ten Hag made a few comments about that as well, so we're going to touch into that. Top four push. There's a poll in the chat right now, which is, will Man United get top four? And it's actually pretty even. We're going to go into that anyway, but I'm going to touch on that later. McTominay, keep him. He's scored another goal for us. He's still our top goal scorer. Or is he a squad player, starting player? What do you guys think about that? There's also been a few rumours about the Ligt, Bayern Munich centre-back, played for Ajax, played under Ten Hag. We'll touch on that, a few of the centre-back options. And yes, I really want to keep this interactive, so make sure you're commenting, make sure you are sending in your super chats. Let me know your opinions, and I'm going to be reading out a lot of comments. So, the first thing I want to speak about, seeing as somebody there's already a poll here, I don't actually know who put the poll on the screen, but because the poll's here, I'm going to touch on it quickly. Will Man United get top four / Champions League qualification? And surprisingly, I'll be honest, I thought the fan base was a bit more optimistic. In my opinion, I'm 100% yes. Yes. That is a bit of I am more of an optimistic fan in general, but the results are 56%. Only 56% says yes, and 44% says no. That sounds like there's a lot of non-United fans in the chat right now, which is, I don't know, I'm a bit surprised. Because in my opinion, like I said, I might actually just start on this right now, seeing as it's on the screen. United we're in, 6th right now? 5 points behind Villa, 6 points behind Spurs. The main concern for me is the fact that our goal difference is still 0. We still don't have a positive goal difference. We're only 5 points behind Villa, which I don't think is a crazy difference. I've seen us build up or take a lot more points of other teams. And if you're looking at form-wise, we've got the best form out of all three of the teams, as in us, Spurs and Villa. We've won, I think, 3 or 4 in our last 5. And Villa their form's been horrible. I think they've lost their last 3 home games. And they've lost 3 in the last 5. Same as Spurs. I think Spurs have only won 2 and 5 as well. So I think form-wise, we're definitely the better team out of the top 3 contenders for that 4th spot. And I think we've probably got a bit more momentum going into, especially the second, what do I call this? We're past halfway now, but going into the later stages into the season, I have a lot more confidence in United compared to Villa and Spurs. We have a bit more experience in the team, and which is kind of what you need if you want to be pushing for a top 4. You want to have players who have been in those challenging situations where it's every game's like an FA Cup final, Champions League final for some of these players, and especially like the game yesterday, that's a big game for us and Villa. Both teams really wanted to win that game, and United obviously came out on top. So, surprisingly, it's very even in the chat. But, I'd say I'd be a bit more confident in United to say that we're going to get a top 4. But let's go into the chat, see what people are saying. Someone said, Man United can't get 5th this season. I know we've got some good form, but it ain't happening. Tottenham will get 4th. I don't know why you'd be more confident in Tottenham having a good push to get 4th or 5th than United. Why would Tottenham? When have we seen Tottenham have a great end to the season and push and get, exceed expectations? Realistically, I think the way how this season's gone, Spurs have been a bit up and down, especially with injuries. They started off very well, got hit with a lot of injuries. Now they've got their players back. I'm still not seeing the same Spurs that I saw before. And like I said, it's all about experience. At the end of the day, they're relying on players like a young centre backs. They've got obviously Maddison, who he's never really had to push for. He's never played for a big team, so he's never had to be able to push for that top 4 spot or like a big trophy spot. And so, in my opinion, I think United have the better advantage. Villa and Spurs have to drop 15 points so we can get top 4. Otherwise, forget about it. They don't have to drop 15 points. Like I said before, we're 5 points behind Villa, and to be fair, Villa first half of the season, they were beating big teams. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to pushing for those high positions. You have to beat the teams around you. You have to. You have to take away points from the teams that are, challenging for the same things that you're challenging for. And Villa were doing that at the start of the season. I mean, they beat Arsenal, they beat City. Who else did they beat? They beat quite a few top teams. But now, I mean, they've lost to Chelsea in the FA Cup, so they're obviously dropping form. We won and we'll get top 4 surely. Hopefully, I mean, I'm definitely optimistic that we'll get top 4 actually. Spurs are playing better football, that is a problem. That is slightly a bit of a concern, but I would say United's, the way we're playing is definitely improving. I mean, you have to admit that from watching, not even just the game yesterday, but the past 3-4 games, I think, the style of play that we're playing is there's a bit more football being played. It's not just, hope for the best. Yesterday we did get a last-minute goal from McTominay, but I do think for majority of the game we weren't actually too bad. Definitely the first 20 minutes we were playing definitely better football than Villa. All good till you lose again, then criticise them as Spurs have a better manager. I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic. I don't think we're going to be losing as many games, especially the second half of the season. Can we take a moment to appreciate Rasmus? Top baller. We're going to talk about him in a second. 5th place is 77% of getting Champions League qualification. I'll be honest, the way how the 5th place thing is looking, I'm not looking to get 5th. I'm not thinking United need to get 5th, because I really don't know how that's even going to work. I don't even know if the English teams have the best option or have the best chance of getting that 5th place spot, because it's determined on how the teams who are still in the Champions League or still in European competitions, how well they do. So how many points they get or how far they progress into those competitions. So, I mean, if every English team gets kicked out of European competitions, that fifth place spot is pretty much useless. We're not going to get it. So I'm pretty much relying on 4th. I'm trying to push. I'm being more optimistic to push for that 4th place position. Shaw's been here for damn near a decade. And we're going to get into Luke Shaw right now. That's what I really want to start off with, Luke Shaw's injury concern. Somebody says, Shaw's been here for damn near a decade. His injury record is getting worse. We need to move on from him. Leverkusen have shown what progressive fullbacks look like, and Shaw ain't that. So, Luke Shaw came off at half-time against Aston Villa. Ten Hag made a few comments on it. I'm going to read what Ten Hag said. He said, it was a precaution. He mentioned, talked about some complaints, and he didn't want to take any risks, especially with Luke Shaw. Let me read it on the screen. So Ten Hag on Luke Shaw, he was taken off at half-time, precaution. He had some complaints, and we can't take any risks with him because he's had, I'm going to assume that said many injuries in the past. We'll have to see how it goes in the next few days. It's not an advantage to lose him. Everyone knows my philosophy to have left-footers at centre-back and at left-back. We have to make compromises, and it's not to our advantage. So, look, we all know about Luke Shaw's injury record for United. It's been horrible. It's been woeful. He's been injured probably the most. I think him and Martial are they're competing with each other, but as in who can get the most injuries in their career. And like you said, he's been there for 9 years. He's been injured more times than Martial, if you look at the amount of games he's missed. And the problem that we have is the fact that we have nobody else that can play his position. Now, the difference between, for example, a centre-back being injured, a right-back being injured, even Martial being injured, at least we have other options that we can use. We genuinely don't have a left-back that's available. So if Luke Shaw is injured, we're always going to have to replace him with somebody who's going to be playing that position. Someone like Dalot, someone like Lindelof, players that shouldn't be playing left-back. And I think that's Ten Hag's real problem, the fact that he's having to compromise. I think he used the word compromise anyway, with other players. And he's having to move players around, players that he wouldn't want to move around and put them into left-back, because I think he mentioned about Malacia as well, not being fit, and for the whole season pretty much. I don't think he's played a game this season, Malacia, which is obviously another big concern. Galeni with a super chat. Don't forget Spurs and Villa play each other in March, so that reduced the gap by 2 or 3. Facts, 100%. Again, these kind of games, like I said before, it's the teams that are around you that you need to be beating. That is going to be probably one of the biggest games for both of those teams, because whoever drops points, United are hopefully going to pick up points in that weekend as well, and that's going to close the gap a lot. We could close the gap down to top 4 by top 5, I guess, by 2 points, 2-3 points, depending on who wins. So that is going to be a huge game for both teams. But back into the Luke Shaw stuff. Yeah, I mean, he spoke about left-footed centre-backs. I mean, look, that's Martinez now out for maybe like a month, few weeks. Actually, no, he's talking about a month, actually, 6 weeks probably. And now Luke Shaw is precaution. It's a precaution, which doesn't bring a lot of hope. I mean, the fact that, you know, Luke Shaw, like you said, he's the only left back that we have. And I think his play, even though Rashford didn't have the greatest game yesterday, I genuinely think Luke Shaw is the only thing that can revive Rashford's game. I think the fact that Luke Shaw is, you know, he likes to lap Rashford a lot, which means that he can drag defenders out of the way. I do want to see him cross the ball a bit more, be a bit more offensive. But I think he's the only one that can really help Rashford get back to his form. I don't want to make this about Rashford, but I think the way that him and Rashford, the connection, that left back, left wing connection, I think that definitely helps a lot. So playing a player like Dalot, it's not going to work. He's not going to be able to. As good as Dalot was yesterday, I think he played amazing, to be fair. Probably could have been our man of the match. But putting him on the left side, putting him on the left back, I think that's going to affect the team, in my opinion. Shaw out, Big L, facts. Shaw average in defence. I don't think he's average in defence. I think he's very physical, though. I think that's a positive, to be fair. He's a physical centre-back. He's 29, 30 years old. He's a more experienced, he's a more grown player. So I think that definitely works in his advantage. I wouldn't say he's the best one-on-one defender, comparing it to, for example, Wan-Bissaka and players like that. I wouldn't put him up there. But I think that experience that he does have playing a lot means that he does get into better positions when it comes to defensively, and he doesn't get caught out on his back post as much, you know, compared to a player like Dalot or Wan-Bissaka. So defensively, I don't actually think he's that bad. I think that's a bit of a cop-out, in my opinion. Shaw, big loss. We needed him. Hopefully not a major injury. Don't get Dalot hype, loses the ball a lot. We're going to touch on the Villa game a bit more in detail, go through a few players, but I think Dalot had a great game yesterday, so he's definitely not the player that we should be concerned about. But moving on, I want to touch a bit on, there's been a bit of rumours about Ligt, potentially. It is rumours, it's a bit of a red alert, not that much into it, but the Mirror did write an article on Ligt potentially coming to United or being, you know, on the scope for Ten Hag. Now, if you don't know who Ligt is, he is a centre-back, right-footed centre-back, right centre-back for Bayern Munich. So he played for Ten Hag. He's another Ajax, graduate. Like I said, played under Ten Hag. Was a top player before he left. I mean, he was being scouted by every top team. He went to Juventus, didn't have the greatest time at Juventus, ended up at Bayern. He's still kind of young-ish, 24 years old, and he hasn't had the impact at Bayern that a lot of people would have expected. He's only played 13 games for Bayern this season. Now, considering Bayern might actually not win the league this year, which they won the league 11 years in a row. Now, Bayern have won the league 11 years in a row, and this season, yes, Leverkusen are having a great season, impeccable season, but Bayern Munich might actually not win the league this year, which I think they're kind of going into a bit of a panic mode because I think they're looking at a lot of players to be, you know, taken out and new players brought in. They're looking at Araujo, or Raujo, however you pronounce his name, from Barca, to kind of replace Ligt, and that kind of leaves him open to move to a new club. And we know what Ten Hag is like with his players. We know he loves his Ajax players. He brought in Onana, he's brought in Anthony, he's brought in Martinez. He's gonna be looking to bring in another one of his players that he's had, and the Ligt is potentially going to be on offer for to bring in. So, you know, let's get a poll in. Would you take De Ligt at Man United in the summer? Let's get that poll in the chat. Golden Boy 2019. Look, he was highly sought after at Ajax. He was definitely a top young prospect. Him and De Jong, two players that a lot of big teams wanted. And I mean, look, I don't think he's worked out the greatest for him, but there is so much time for him to develop. And potentially him coming to United, him going back under Ten Hag, could be the right move for him. So get your votes in. Would you take Ligt in the summer? Now, bear in mind, a centre-back is needed. In fact, probably 2 centre-backs are needed for United. We are obviously linked with Tadipo, which I think is the most likely centre-back that we're going to get in. But the problem is, I guess, they are both very similar players. They're both going to play on the right-hand side. So if we do get into Tadipo, there is no space for Ligt because he's not going to come to United to be another bench option. He's a starting player. He could start for most teams in the Premier League. Same with Tadipo. So if we do get him in, a lot of people are saying no in the chat. A lot of people saying no. He captained a young Ajax team to Champions League semi-final. Very true. No chance. If we get him at a cheap price, I'll take it. Yeah, I think his price has definitely gone down from what it was when he left Ajax. It's looking at about 60 million, 50, 60 million, which for United, I mean, I don't really know how our finances are looking. We're probably going to have about 150, 200 million to spend in the summer. So let me know your votes. What do you think is going to happen with Ligt? A lot of people saying Branthwaite, Everton defender, and Tadipo that people are looking. He's too bulky. We don't want Ligt. He's not exactly tearing up at Bayern. No, he's not tearing up at Bayern, which is probably why we're going to be looking at him, because the likelihood is we're not going to be bringing in we're trying to bring in younger players. We're trying to bring in players that can develop at United. He's not a teenager, but he's 24. I think same age as Tadipo anyway. So we want to bring in players that are going to be able to come to the club and be able to probably learn from players like Varane, learn from a player like Evans. You know, he's an experienced player. He's been there for a very long time. Someone saying Ligt or Antonio Silva, who another young defender. 60 million for a player they are desperate to get rid of so they can improve. Come on, guys. So, I mean, I'm going to go to the vote right now. The poll was, would you take Ligt in the summer? Yes is 58%. I mean, this is still close. Yes is 58%, 57%, and no is 43%. It's still, in my opinion, that is still very, very close. That's very split. But why? Let me know in the comments, why are you guys so split? There's a lot of people saying no in the chat, so I really want to know the people who are saying yes. Why do you think yes? Because some people saying no more Ajax players. I mean, to be fair, the Ajax players that we've got 3 right now. We've got Onana, we've got Anthony, we've got Martinez. Martinez, great signing. Probably Ten Hag's best signing. Onana had an amazing game yesterday, actually. A very, very good game. In fact, he's probably my man of the match. I'll put Onana man of the match yesterday. He had a great game. I think Maguire won it, though. I think Maguire actually got the official man of the match. But Onana, great game yesterday. Hasn't been the greatest this season, but, I mean, we're definitely seeing improvements. So, in my opinion, that's 2 out of 3. That's 2 out of 3 Ajax players that he's brought in. What age? Oh, no. We need multi-talented defenders. I think he is a multi-talented defender. Let's not judge him too much as to what he's been able to do since he's left Ajax, because, in my opinion, when it comes to defenders, it's more now the new age defenders anyway. I think it's more about your IQ, because the game right now is very, very technical. And offensively, I mean, you look at these modern football, it's not about individual brilliance. It's more about tactics. It's more about, you look at Pep's team. I mean, I heard Grealish speak about, the way how his changes from going from Aston Villa to Man City. And the main change that he said was the fact that it was just a lot more technical. So if the offense is going to be a lot more technical, we just need smarter defenders, which I think Ligt can definitely provide in this team. So it's not necessarily, I wouldn't say physicality is a main problem. I say it's mainly about understanding the game more and reading the game more. We had a great summer incoming. Oh my, we will sign ballers, okay? According to Mods, Rashford is young, but I've never said Rashford's young. Rashford's 26, 27 years old. He's not young. Injuries, he is not that quick, and his position is not on a high level. They have got Chiellini and Bonucci to learn from, and he didn't. Ligt is not good enough for Serie A and Bundesliga, comparing to Premier League, which is way more tough. First of all, Serie A is supposed to be a better league when it comes to defensively anyway, so saying that he can't handle the Premier League as a defender makes no sense. And as well, I hate it when people compare leagues because I understand the reasoning. Like, I'm not trying to say I don't understand the reasoning. I understand the reasoning why people will compare different leagues. However, I can name countless players that have left the Premier League and gone to these other leagues and gone worse. I can name countless players that have come from other leagues and come to the Premier League and they've dropped off in form. Look at Werner. He scored 28 goals in Bundesliga, came to the Premier League, and it was terrible. But then you got players who, the other way around. So looking at, comparing leagues and saying, oh, he couldn't hack it in Serie A, so there's no way he could hack it in the Premier League makes no sense. I think that's a bit of a cop-out. So look, what I really want to do is I really want to go on to yesterday's game and talk about some of these players. The main player that I really want to talk about is McTominay. Now, if you've been living under a rock and you didn't see the game yesterday, McTominay came on once again and he scored a winning goal. Now, a lot of people who have seen me speak with McTominay know that I'm not the greatest fan, not the biggest fan of McTominay. I think he's at best, very, very, very best, he is a squad player, very, very rotational though, very rotational. In my opinion, if we need a sub, I'm not looking to McTominay, but he's proven me wrong. I have to hold my hands up and say he is proving me wrong every single game. And he's our top goal scorer in the Premier League, which is absolutely wild. He's our top goal scorer. He scored 7 goals and got 1 assist. And he's having the absolute season of his life. He's position-wise, he's not playing anywhere near what he's played in the past. I want to bring up a tweet that I tweeted earlier, but he scored more goals this season than he has, I think, in his last 3 seasons put together. He's not naturally a goal scorer. He's in the academy, he played as an 8. I know there were rumours that he played as a striker. It was for 2 games. He said it himself. It was only for 2 games. He's never been a striker in the academy. He played as a number 8, mainly defensively. He was never an attacking player, but somehow he's just changed. And I think it's his height, it's his physicality, it's his just awareness in the box. He actually gets into very good positions. For someone who doesn't naturally play striker, he's got into some very good positions. And he's scoring quite a few goals. Now look, last season he scored 1 goal in the league. The season before that, he scored 1 goal, got 1 assist. And the season before that, he got before the season, it was his highest scoring season. He scored 4 goals and got 1 assist. And this season, like I said before, he's got 7 goals and 1 assist. And they're not just any goals. They're not just goals like, we're up 3-0, McTominay comes on for 10 minutes and just gets a little tap in. No, he's scoring winners. He's actually winning those games, which is why I have to hold my hands up. I have to hold my hands up and say, I'm not going to say I was wrong, but he's doing a good job. Look, he's doing a very good job. We shouldn't be reliant on putting McTominay up and trying to save us yet again. We shouldn't, but it's somehow working. And at the end of the day, we need 3 points. Look, I'm at the position right now where I'm trying to get to the end of the season and get a good position. So far, we've been super underwhelming, and everybody knows that. So the goal right now is to just get as many points as we can, get this top 4 position, maybe get an FA Cup, and then next season, we can reset and we can try and develop and build up the team and start off the season a lot better. So if McTominay coming on the pitch for 20 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and he's getting us these goals, I'll be honest, let's keep doing it. If it's working, you don't break a winning formula. So Scott is a bad midfielder, but a decent striker. His positioning is mad. McClutch, we make it hard for ourselves. McTominay has been good, but at a much better all-round players, which I think that's the main thing that my whole, problem with McTominay was just the fact that when he does come on the pitch, even though he might snatch a goal, naturally, we do play worse. I think just in general, the balance in the midfield is all off. In fact, I think he came on for Rashford last game. I don't think he came on for a midfield. He came on for Rashford, which kind of shows that I think Ten Hag kind of wanted to keep a little bit more balance in that midfield because did he come on for? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he came on for Rashford. So if he did come on as a midfielder, naturally the game does slow down when he is in midfield. Especially when he comes on for like Mainu, who super press resistant, great at keeping the ball, great at keeping things ticking. You bring on McTominay for someone like that, it's going to be a decrease in quality. So that's been my main problem with McTominay. He can't, in his natural position, which is a midfield, like I said, he isn't the greatest, and I don't think he adds anything to the team when he's playing like that. But when you do put him on as this second striker almost, everyone's saying it in the chat, he gets into these great positions. He's not a starter, needs to be a sub. That's where he is effective, 100%. He's not a starter. McGinn from Aston Villa would be fantastic in midfield. Who would he play over though? I mean, McGinn's more of an 8, so I guess he would play over Mainoo. I don't really want to drop Mainoo, I'll be honest. I don't really want to drop him. He could play as a 6, I guess, but again, we're going to drop Casemiro, who, to be fair, I don't think Casemiro had the greatest game yesterday either, but I don't think McGinn's going to be an option for us in the summer. McTominay is better than Bruno right now. It's up to Bruno to prove me wrong. Okay, in what way? Let me know exactly in what way is McTominay better than Bruno. If anyone agrees with that, let me know in the chat. Why is McTominay better than Bruno? In fact, let's get I like a good poll. Let's get another poll in there. Would you keep McTominay in the summer? If he continues his form, actually, let me change it a little bit. If McTominay keeps this form, scoring these goals, maybe he might get, if he's keeping the form, he might get 12 goals this season. It could be roughly around that tally. If he is keeping this form, would you keep McTominay in the summer or for next season and maybe use him, like you said, as a substitute? Or would you cash in? I'm a cash in kind of guy. In fact, when McTominay scored, I was more happy of the fact that that's an extra 5 to 10 million onto his price tag. Well, maybe not 10, but that's an extra 5 million onto his price tag. Every goal he scores, he's adding more money onto his price tag because other teams are going to be looking and thinking, we might actually have a place for McTominay into our team as somebody who can come on or maybe even start for maybe a mid-table team and potentially get them goals. So, in my opinion, that's a good cash in. As long as him and Maguire keep putting in these good performances, they're raising up the prices, and that's what we want. Keep raising those prices, and hopefully we can cash them in and get in some good, better players, better all-round players. 40 million pure profit, cash in immediately. Somebody said, I'm not going to read the starting bit, but McSauce won't ever be a starter for the club. McSauce won't ever be a starter. It's too much. Having no problem keeping McTominay in the squad, but it should not stop us from signing players. Yes, but because he is an academy player, because we're going to be getting pure profit on him, financially, and we know United financially right now, there's a lot of conversations going on. So I think it's more of a case of, I think the old United, I say the old United, but the past 10 years, we would have kept McTominay 100%, just kept him just for the sake of keeping him. How many players have we just kept at this club for years and years and years and years just to have them here? We did that with Lingard. We kept him here for he wanted to go out to Newcastle. We kept him just to have him in the squad, which obviously didn't end up great for him, and he didn't really play for us. And I think the old United would have just kept McTominay and said, you know what, let's just have him as a squad player. But now, because we're in this, I don't even want to say transition, because we've been in a transition phase for a very long time, but we're in this new phase at United where things are changing, new ownership, manager. We're trying to get rid of these players. We're trying to get rid of these players that have been in for such a long time. Name a better midfielder than McTominay and I'll drop 50 memberships. Everyone comment players that are better than McTominay, and who's this? Just Kevon is going to drop 50 memberships. So, if he's playing DM, he's less likely to score, and it's simple facts. True, but we have a bad habit to keep these players. Look, that's the point I'm trying to make. We have a bad habit of keeping these players that they might have a good season, but they're not in the long-term plan. McTominay is not a long-term plan for Ten Hag. He shouldn't be anyway, but he's not a long-term plan. So realistically, if we are trying to weed out the players that aren't going to be starting anytime soon and aren't, like you said, long-term players, we need to get rid of players like McTominay. Van der Beek's he's gone. Players like potentially Eriksen, like I said, Maguire, Lindelof. Not all at once, because we do need players to be at the club. But, in the summer, drop 2, 3, 4, 5 players, and then we slowly start weeding in the good players. Anyone who can pass is better than him. Jude Bellingham, no. Oh, I guess people are just naming players now that are better McTominay. So yeah, I'm going to go to the vote now. So the poll was, if McTominay keeps up his good form, would you keep him in the summer or cash in? 70% have said cash in and 30% have said keep, which I think that's the most common sense thing to do. Cash him in, let him go to a young Crystal Palace or a Wolves or somebody, one of the mid-table teams, and we bring in someone better. Get the most amount of money that we can out of him, because in my opinion, he's not going to do this next season. McTominay is not going to score this amount of goals next season if we keep him. There's absolutely no way. So, you know, whilst he's playing better than we've all expected him to play, let's get the most amount of money out of him. I'd keep McTominay now. His goals are winning us games. What do you think about Fred? I mean, he's gone. Paulinho, Fulham midfielder. I wouldn't bring him in. I mean, Paulinho's best attribute is his tackling. You know, his defensive attributes. But other than that, I know there's a lot of hype around him. There's a lot of hype around Paulinho. His name gets mentioned every single time any big team plays Fulham. It's always Paulinho. I'm not actually that convinced. I've seen him play quite a few times. I'm not as convinced as other people. But people saying João Neves. People are talking about, let's talk about some of the other players. So Rasmus Højlund, another player that is, you know, his form is going great. He scored, 5 in 5 now, which is probably maybe other than Haaland. I think his form right now is probably the best striker in the league. Again, other than Haaland. But his form is great. He's developing so much. He's getting to better positions. You know, one of the problems that I think Rasmus had in the past was the fact that McTominay and McTominay were getting into very similar positions, and McTominay was, I don't want to say stealing his goals because it's a bit harsh to say, but when you get into the same positions as somebody else, as a striker, naturally, you see somebody making the same run as you, you're going to make a different run. And McTominay was making a lot of these similar runs to Højlund and getting these goals, which meant Højlund was having to take a plan B run. You know, maybe instead of going front post, he's going back post instead, and he wasn't getting these goals. But now that McTominay's not playing as much, he's coming as more of a substitute because we've got most of our midfielders back. I think Højlund's getting the better opportunities to score more goals, and he's being facilitated a lot more, which is helping him. Yeah, I mean, he had a great interview with Mark. If you ain't seen it, if you somehow haven't seen that interview, I'm pretty sure everyone's seen it now, but if you somehow haven't seen it, go and check it out. Mark obviously interviewed Mark interviewed Rasmus last week, and it's on the United Stand channel, so go and check that out. But I still think that there is a little bit more that, you know, I want to see Rasmus do. He is still young, he's still developing physically. I mean, to be fair, he's a super quick. I think every game I'm finding out how fast he really is. Sometimes he's keeping up with, you know, Rashford at times. I'm thinking, wow, like if he's on the same level as Rashford when it comes to speed and you know, getting in behind and whatnot, he's super dangerous. Why is Ten Hag still keeping Antony at the club? What do you think? Antony is Ten Hag's player, and I think mainly I'd say it's because of the price tag, I'll be honest. He costs a lot of money. And one of my other shows, I gave this example of, you know, United is a business. Think about it. I know it's a football club, and, you know, as fans, we see it as a football club because, you know, it's part of our life. Football is life. But for Ten Hag, it's a business. For United, for the owners, it's a business. Now, if you're spending 80, 90 million pounds on an asset for your business, you need to make it work. And if it doesn't work, you need to find a way for it to work, because 90 million pounds or however much he went for is a lot of money for a company to spend on an asset. So I think Ten Hag, he does feel a little bit of pressure because you're bringing in a player like that for that much money and he's not playing well, he's not doing what you've obviously thought he was going to do or what he's done in the past for you. You're under a little bit of pressure, and I think that's why he's keeping him at the club. I don't think he's going to sell him anytime soon, I'll be honest. I don't think he's maybe give him another season playing like this, he might cash in, probably won't get that much on him. It'd be a big L. That'll be a super bad for Ten Hag if he has to cash in on Anthony. But I don't think he's going to end up doing that. Just because he's winning the game, just because he's won us the game, doesn't mean he's good enough. This guy would have been sold, or should have been sold 5 years ago. I agree. Maybe not 5 years ago, but he should have been sold quite a long time ago. I think the reason why he wasn't sold was because him and Fred had that weird partnership where they were both kind of complementing each other. They were both doing what the other player couldn't do. And we didn't have anybody else in that DM position that could play or that could do what both of them couldn't do. Someone like Casemiro, someone like Mainu, who right now, they both have the attributes that McTominay and Fred didn't have. So that's why he's been here for so long. He's kind of just been a filler. And I'll be honest, that Mick-Fred partnership, at times it weren't too bad. I mean, Mourinho and Ollie were using them so much. You know, they were abusing that Mick-Fred partnership. But that's the reason why he's been there for so long, because of that partnership. I think if we had a better DM, if we had Casemiro back in 2017, 2018, 2019, from that point, McTominay would have been gone. He would have been gone a long time ago, in my opinion. Someone said I'd never want to see a partnership like that again. I agree. He's done more for us than Bruno this season. Is that genuinely people's opinion? Do people really think that McTominay has done more for us than Bruno? I mean, I would agree. Bruno, because he started off so strong, and when I say so strong, he was breaking records. I think he broke the record for the most goals and assists for a midfielder in a year from Lampard. He was breaking records when he came in. So naturally, the bar, the ceiling was super high for Bruno, so he was naturally going to come down anyway, in my opinion. But I still think that Bruno is more effective than McTominay. I'd still rather start Bruno over McTominay. McTominay is not a creative player in any sense of the word. I know Ricky thinks he's a creative player, but in my opinion, he's not. He's more of a poacher. He's more of a player that you put in the box, 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, and just hope for the best. Put the ball in his head, just put the ball in his head and hope that he gets a header, a tap in, he's in a good position and he scores a goal. Super chat from International 2675. Great for Rasmus to score, though he does fade in game. And that's the point I was making earlier, but I do want to see a bit more from him over the full 90 minutes. Sometimes he does go quiet. And I think that the top strikers, what kind of sets them apart is, even if they're not getting as many chances, they will go and find a chance. They'll create it themselves. They'll go and find the ball. If the ball's not coming to them, they're going to go into the positions where the ball is going and they're going to take it for themselves. And I think Højlund doesn't show that as much, which, again, it's something that he can develop. It's not a huge concern, in my opinion. It's not something that is like a game changer. It's something that he can 100% bring into his game. But yeah, great for him to score. We are not Stoke. Get a decent sum from McTominay, then replace him with with a proper six. Bruno never injured. Look, availability is the best ability. A player that's there. He's played the most games for us since he's come. I think, yeah, he's played the most games for us since he's been at the club. So yeah, disrespect needs to stop. Looking forward to see Mason Mount make his debut next season. Honestly, the whole Mason Mount situation is still confusing me. I don't know where. First of all, I don't know where he's going to play. If he's going to play as a 10, if he's going to play as an 8, if he's going to play on the right wing. I don't know where he's going to fit in. Is he going to be a starter? Is he going to be a super sub? Is he just going to be a bench player? Is he going to be another Van der Beek? I don't know where. I don't know what Ten Hag's plan is with Mason Mount. So that's another conversation. Hopefully, when he does come back, it'll be a bit clearer as to what the plan is for Mason Mount. But super confusing. Someone said unfair. It isn't fair, I'm guessing that's what they meant to say, to compare Luke Shaw's injury with Martial's. Shaw is lucky to still be playing football with the horrific leg break he suffered 8 years ago. Yeah, I mean, you are right. That leg break was, I remember that game in the Europa League. That could have been a career ender. And to be fair to him, to come back from that kind of injury mentally, to come back from the injury takes a lot. Because that is one of those ones where he probably did consider his career, in general. And for him to come back into the team and, at times for United, he's been one of the best left-backs in the league, at times since that injury. So, props up to Luke Shaw for that. Is he a Bruno replacement? probably talking about Mason Mount. There's no need to replace Bruno. Why do people want to replace Bruno so much? Like, what is the genuine? There is a genuine need to replace Bruno right now, or to even be thinking about it. Considering the players that we need to replace, there's always this talk about Bruno potentially finding another. People talk about Paqueta and all these other 10s. What is the need to replace Bruno? I don't see the value in that. I don't see the urgency to replace him. Potential backup, yes, but Mount, he could be the potential backup. Like, we don't need somebody to come in and take Bruno out of his position. But yeah, another thing I want to really touch on actually is Gary Neville, the great Gary Neville, came out yesterday, obviously after the Aston Villa game, and he had a couple of comments about Ten Hag United's away results, and he says, Erik Ten Hag has not been able to get an away performance out of this team against top sides. That needs to change very quickly. The excuses are over now because United have the players back and more experience on the pitch. They have started to perform in the last few weeks. Now, the comments or the narrative for United this season has been very negative when it comes to our away record. I think for a long period of time, we hadn't beat, I think it was a top 9 side away, which, if you're looking to get top 4, top 5, that's horrible. Considering our away record under Ollie, our away record under Ollie was, I think we broke a record actually, for how great our away record was. And for it to end up being like this, struggling against top teams away, it is a bit, I don't want to say it's confusing, because naturally away games, it's more based on your spirit. It's more a mentality kind of thing, because you go into tough grounds, you're playing against, Villa, like I said, start of the season, Villa at home for them was a very difficult game. Villa had a great home record, but we've obviously gone there and we've taken points of them. So I think that there's a big change now. We've seen a lot of changes throughout the pitch in general, throughout the club, but that change when it comes to those away records, us getting points at these other grounds, I think it's definitely the positive for Ten Hag. Ten Hag had quite a lot of comments himself post-game. He spoke about, the main comment that I liked anyway was the fact that he said, we can beat anyone. We can beat anyone. That's confidence. That shows that before he was making a lot of excuses. Before he was saying, injury this, and this player's not here, and this player's not out of form, and this player's not training well, and whatnot. But now he's saying, look, we can beat anyone. I think that confidence that he's running through the team is only gonna help the players. It's only gonna get them more confident, and players like potentially a Rashford, potentially an Anthony, potentially a Maguire, Onana, these players who haven't been favoured as much by the fan base. Hopefully this confidence runs through them and it affects their performances. Rash out, Mason in. Would you take Matty Cash? No, that's a good question, to be fair. No, I wouldn't take Matty Cash. I'm actually, we're going to talk about Dalot actually in a second, but the fullbacks that we have now, I think they are good for the time being. My whole, I've said this 100 times in the show, but my whole thing with the fullbacks is, unless we are improving them to Champions League, best in the world quality fullbacks, there's no point changing them right now. There's genuinely no point looking for new fullbacks unless we're going to be, the level that we're taking it to is, like I said, best in the world, elite fullback quality level. Matty Cash isn't that. He's a good fullback. Don't get twisted. I'm not trying to say he's not a good fullback. He's definitely a good fullback, but there's no point replacing any of our fullbacks unless we're going to take it to that next level, which Matty Cash, in my opinion, he's not. But yeah, speaking on Dalot, amazing game. I have to give him props. Because everybody knows that I've always been a Wan-Bissaka in, and I wouldn't say Dalot out, but I've always been Wan-Bissaka over Dalot. And he's been one of our most consistent players this season. I have to give him props. I'm not afraid to, look, I'm not gonna say I was wrong. I know I keep saying that, but I'm not gonna say I was wrong. But Dalot, 100%, great game. He's doing exactly what we need from him right now. You know, he's being consistent. He's staying fit. He's not in. You know, if Dalot got injured at any point in the season, we would have been in big trouble. But he's been there probably just as much as Bruno has been there. He's getting forward a lot more. I think his offensive game's improving. People talk about his defensive game's not that great, but I think offensively, he's becoming more impactful. And that was one of the points that I always made about Dalot, was that, yes, he is better than Wan-Bissaka offensively, but in my opinion, he wasn't that influential when it comes to us actually scoring goals. He was more of he's good enough to play as an offensive player, but he's not making the impacts that, for example, Trent's making, or an impact that a Kyle Walker or a Trippier or a Frimpong. I mean, we've seen what Frimpong did for Leverkusen the other day. He wasn't having that kind of impact on the offense, but now I'm actually seeing it a lot more, and he's definitely developing. So, you know what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Somebody said Dalot most improved, 100%. I think compared to what, there's a point where I think when he went on loan to, where did he go on loan to? AC Milan? Was it AC Milan? A lot of people are saying that they want Dalot gone. Like, take him, let him go. But now that he's come back into the team, he's shown his value, he's shown his improvements, he's shown what he can do. I mean, Ronaldo said that he's one of the most, I don't think he used to be mature, but he spoke highly of him anyway, which, I mean, coming from Ronaldo, that is big props. Somebody said Dalot played the season so far. Interesting. You know what? Yeah, that's such a good point. He was our player of the season so far. Dalot is up there. You know, as much as I've been saying Wan-Bissaka should be our starting fullback, because Wan-Bissaka has been injured for most of the season and Dalot has played so much, he potentially could be our player of the season. Somebody said he's closer to Ten Hag ball than Wan-Bissaka. Yes, he is. He's obviously a lot more inverted. And we know Ten Hag likes to play with inverted fullbacks. Dalot is more valuable than Luke Shaw. He's much more of an end product and productive than Luke Shaw. Let's talk about it. Actually. Let's get another poll up there. I know they're both, one's a left back, one's a right back, but based on the comment from International, who is a more valuable player for Man United, Dalot or Luke Shaw? I think that's actually quite an interesting conversation. In my opinion, that's a good question. In my opinion, I'd say Luke Shaw's more valuable based on the fact that we don't have another left back. So Luke Shaw gone, we don't have anyone to replace him. You know, Malasha's been injured for the whole season. I don't think there's anybody else who, we don't have another left-footed player. Even if Martinez was fit, we don't have another he wouldn't play left back. So we don't have another left-footed defender who can play in that position. I'm not gonna lie to you, my laptop just died, but I'm gonna get the chat up on my phone quickly so I can see what you guys are saying. So let me know in the comments right now. Get your votes in on the poll. Who is more valuable, Luke Shaw or Dalot? I think the value in Dalot kind of drops down because we still have Wan-Bissaka. I think if Wan-Bissaka was to go in the summer, I think the conversation would be a lot more even. The fact that if Dalot was to get injured, we'd have. Oh yeah, I mean, Wan-Bissaka is still very injury prone. To be fair, he's not there right now. But considering everyone who's fit, I think the drop off between Dalot and Wan-Bissaka isn't as big as a drop-off between Luke Shaw and Malasha. That's why I would say Luke Shaw is more valuable and more experienced. Let me know in the comments right now. Shaw can also start in that left centre-back. Facts, you know, because Martinez is a bit of an injury-prone player so far in his Man United career. Luke Shaw playing there hasn't been bad. You know, he's definitely put up some good performances at centre-back. Let me get my vote in, actually. To be fair, a lot of these polls today have all been kind of even. The fan base seems to be a bit split on a lot of these polls. Someone says, Dalot, because how is a player valuable when they are so incredibly injury-prone? True, but I mean, I'd say a player like Varane, he's still, even though he has been injured a lot, I think he's still valuable to this team. I think when he does play, it changes. Martinez, injury-prone, still very valuable to the team. So injuries are definitely a factor when it comes to how valuable you are. But there are some players who, because they've shown the qualities and because there is a big drop-off when they aren't playing, that kind of shows how valuable they are. Only bad thing with Luke Shaw is injuries, injury-prone FC. Shaw is a better player, but his injuries make him a liability. Shaw only has 17 assists in his whole Man United career. He's not that good going forward. Someone comment how many assists has Dalot had in his whole career. I've not got that up right now, but let me know how many assists that Dalot has, because I know it's not that much, I'll be honest. So yeah, let me go. Keep getting these votes in, actually. Keep getting these votes in. I really want to see what people's opinions are on who's a more valuable player. Somebody said, I think we need an additional top left back than Luke Shaw that can cover in centre back 100%. The focus this season has been heavily on the centre backs and a bit on the right backs as well. I mean, a lot of people talking about Frimpong coming in, a couple of other players coming in, but I feel like people have actually, they've kind of slept a bit on that left side, on that left back position. There's not been that much conversation. There's not been that much transfer rumours and potential left backs coming in, which it could come to bite us in the future if Luke Shaw does get another big injury potentially, and we don't have anyone to replace him. The fans are weird, the same nonsense did with Martial. How is Luke Shaw valuable? Shaw's contributions going forward is actually deceiving. He doesn't deliver like that. What do you think about the refereeing in the game? We'll touch on that a bit. I mean, we've got 10 minutes left, so I'm going to touch a bit more on the game slightly. But going on to this vote, who is the more valuable player at Manchester United? Luke Shaw is 59%. Again, another even vote. These polls have been a lot more, 50-50 than I thought. So it's actually Luke Shaw at 59 and Dalot at 41. So people, it's not convincing. It's not like a clear, Luke Shaw's clear or Dalot's clear. People are actually very, very split in my opinion. And considering Luke Shaw's been there for almost 10 years, which is kind of wild to be fair. And Dalot's been there for what, 6 How long? Dalot's been there for quite a long time, actually. He's been there for about 6 years. 5, 6 years. So yeah, people are 58% now to Luke Shaw and 42% to Dalot, which is interesting. I mean, somebody said, if we get Frimpong, Dalot can play left back. I don't want to see Dalot at left back. Again, playing in my opposition. Ten Hag doesn't want a right-footed left back. So that just gives him another reason to complain. I don't like it when Ten Hag complains, because it just seems like a lot of excuses. Playing Dalot at left back it's not part of his plans. And in my opinion, when Ten Hag has his full team and everything's actually going well, players are playing to the expected level that he wants from them, that's when we see results. As soon as we start playing players out of position and he's having to compromise here and there, the results start dropping, Ten Hag starts complaining, that's when we start seeing more problems. They're both important along with Wan-Bissaka. I want us to go for Borna Sosa of Stuttgart. He'd be perfect. I need to look into him a bit more, actually. Dalot can play left back. He's a better option than Lindelof. Yeah, I mean, I was 100% agree he's better than Lindelof, but in my opinion, I think Lindelof is going to be going this summer anyway. I think, to be fair, I've heard a lot of people, I think we did a calling show. Was it a calling show or was it Instagram Live? And one of the callers was saying how much he rates Lindelof. And in fact, I think he was saying that he would prefer Lindelof to have started the Villa game because of how good he is on the ball. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about Lindelof potentially staying, or would you prefer Lindelof or Maguire? Which one of those players would you prefer as a backup centre-back? Can we stop comparing our players to each other? I mean, that's just football. You're never going to not compare players. That's how it is. We need younger players so that we can develop them. Yes, but we also need to have a balance. I mean, I've said this a lot. We need to have a balance of younger players and more experienced players. Luke Shaw is one of our, funnily enough, he is actually one of our more experienced players. Even though I'd say he hasn't won a lot He definitely hasn't won a lot, actually, to be fair. He's won a Europa League and maybe FA Cup, Carabao Cup here and there, but he is one of our most experienced players at the club. So we do want to kind of keep these kind of players into the club, at the team, for potentially young players coming up. He's good. Leo got Beckham's cross and captain mentality. Days are numbered for Lindelof. Facts. Days are very numbered. Lindelof is a better backup. Lindelof is a better backup. Our most expensive centre-back cannot become a backup. I think, see, when it comes to Maguire and the whole, his 80 million price tag, let's just forget about it. In my opinion, we shouldn't even be putting that price tag on Maguire's head anymore. I think that's just, we made a mistake. Or I wouldn't say we made a mistake, but we overjudged it. I think he was just priced a lot higher than what he was. I don't think we can keep comparing him to that price tag anymore. It's been too long. We just need to take him for what he is right now. And in my opinion, he is a backup centre-back. Whether he was 80 million or not, he's a backup centre-back. And if we are going to, move on, we need to cash in and hope that we get as much as we can out of him. But look, we've got 5 minutes left. So I just want to touch on the Aston Villa game a little bit more. One player that I really want to touch on, Onana. Another player who had a great game yesterday. And I think it's he's been a bit up and down. I think he's second right now in the clean sheet race, which is, it's actually, it makes no sense. Honestly, I feel like the clean sheet race slowly is starting to become less and less of a factor as to which goalkeepers are actually the best, because De Gea won last season and we sold him. Onana could win the clean sheet, or could win, the Golden Glove this season, and he hasn't had the great season, let's be honest. He hasn't had the great season, but he kept us in that game so well yesterday. Some of them close range shots that he had, there was one attempt that he had, and it was literally point blank range right at him, and natural goalkeeper instinct, he got into a certain position, he's made a save. Onana had an absolute great game. Arguably, I'd say it was his best game this season. The goal, in my opinion, cannot blame him. Just poor defending. There's very little. I don't think any keeper in the world would have saved that. It was literally right in front of the net, went into the corner. He couldn't have done much. But other than that, he put in a great performance. Maybe his passing wasn't the greatest. There was times where he was, in my opinion, he was rushing it a little bit. But I think that was just a game plan. I think the game plan was naturally to get in behind as much. And the best way, or one of the best ways of getting in behind is from the keeper. When Aston Villa are pushing a lot of players forward, Onana gets a ball from potentially a corner or one of their attacks, quickly move the ball out, Rashford, Garnacho, Højlund, get on a fast break, get on a counter-attack, which is why he was rushing it a lot. But yeah, I think he played great. Everyone in the chat is saying how great he played. So I think most people agree that, definitely his best game of the season. But one thing I do want to touch on is, like I mentioned, the way we played yesterday. Look, for the majority of the game, I'd say we were the better team. It was very, very back and forth. But the reason why I think it was back and forth was just because of the tactics that we were using. I don't think Ten Hag went into this game to control the game. I don't think Ten Hag's his game plan was, let's actually try and play better football than Aston Villa, because in my opinion, I don't think we can. I don't think the way we've been playing this season, I don't think we're at that level yet where we are going to completely dominate the whole game. And naturally, because of the high line that Aston Villa play, you're going to want to play it in behind a lot. And when you're playing it in behind so much, you're trying to catch them out, you're trying to catch the centre-backs out and use the pace that you have, you're never going to get control of the game. And I think that's why it was so back and forth, because when we were getting the ball, it was like first instinct was, find Rashford, find Garnacho, try and get them to run in behind. Casemiro was doing that a lot, and it wasn't coming off that much, considering how much he was trying to play in behind. But I think that was the game plan, wasn't to actually control the game, which is why 20 minutes, first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, great. After that, super cagey, super back and forth. Second half, we came out, I thought we came out pretty well, but then straight after that, again, back and forth. Aston Villa had quite a lot of good chances. That's where they were really testing Onana, and eventually, McTominay got the winning goal. But I think the point I'm trying to make is, if we are going to keep playing like that this season, it's not always going to end well. Today it ended well. Yes, we got a last-minute goal, but if we keep trying to play this kind of football, that's super counter-attacking, not really trying to take control of the game, not trying to keep the ball, not trying to keep possession, it's going to come back to bite us, in my opinion. And I think the fact that we have a more balanced midfield now. We've got players like hope Luke Shaw's not injured, but we've got players like Luke Shaw, who's in the team. Dallow's still, he's playing more regularly. These players that can keep the ball. These are ball playing, technically gifted players who can work the ball a bit better in the midfield. I think we should be trying and dominate games a bit better instead of just going for that long ball counter attack. Bruno, first time ping to Højlund. It could work every now and then, but you're gonna get caught out a lot of games, and we've seen that a lot this season. We've been caught out by some of these teams. So I think yes, it was a great game, great result, but I don't think going forward, if we keep trying to play this little long ball counter-attacking football, I don't think it's gonna work out that much. But you know what? It's 11 o'clock. My show has, unfortunately, come to an end. Look, I think the main thing that I've kind of learned today is that the fan base is super split. A lot of these polls that we've had today have been like 50-50, 60-40 decisions. But look, let me know on Twitter. Make sure you're getting your tweets of what you thought of the game yesterday. What are your thoughts on top 4, top 5, potentially, if that is another Champions League spot? Do you think we're going to be getting those positions? Plays like Onana, do you think this is going to be like a resurgence? Do you think he's going to go on a great, the performances are going to continue? Maguire, are these performances going to continue, considering that Martinez is obviously injured? But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the game yesterday. And yeah, I'm going to see you guys next time.